So over the past couple weeks, TakeFiveADay has announced a bunch of information about Cars 3. Mainly talking about the diecast that will be released in 2017 and some new characters as well. So I wanted to make a video talking about all that stuff and speculating about some new ideas I have and whatnot. But first, thanks to TakeFiveADay for giving me permission to make this video. The link to their website will be in the description below, and I highly recommend checking it out. They make some great articles on there. So, what's going to happen in this video is that I'm going to go through each individual article that TakeFiveADay posted. I'll talk about it for a little bit, and then at the end of the video I'll summarize all of the articles and kind of give some of my thoughts and speculate about some new things and revisit some of my ideas I presented in my first Cars 3 speculation video in June. So let's begin with the first article posted on September 6th of 2016. So it starts off with the returning piston cut racers that will be released, which are bumper save, four-wheel drive, gaskets, little torquey pistons, mood springs, N20 Cola, nitro-wade, shine wax, spearmint, sputter stop, tank coat, toe cap, and Vuezine. So these could be one of three things in my opinion. They could be the same exact characters that are just reprising their roles from the first movie. So for example, Aiken Axler was the nitro-wade racer in Cars 1, so then he'd be the nitro-wade racer in Cars 3. Or the sponsors have new drivers / characters, so then Aiken wouldn't be the nitro-wade racer in Cars 3. A different character with a different name would be that racer. And the third option, in my opinion at least, would be that the racers had nothing to do with Cars 3 and are just re-releases from Cars 1, similar to what Mattel has done in the past 4 years with the Piston Cup series. Now, I really have no idea which option is more likely at this point. We'll just have to see what the racers are. Maybe we'll get a glimpse of them in the trailer. Don't really know yet. Now let's move on to the returning Radiator Springs Townies. So it looks like we have a Lightning McQueen from the beginning of the movie, like we did for Cars 2, which was Hudson Hornet Piston Cup Lightning McQueen. Dirt Track Fabulous Hudson is probably from a flashback scene, or it could just be a re-release, but I kind of doubt that. Mater, not much to say with him. He may be slightly different, but I kind of doubt that as well. And same thing with Lizzie, Sally, Flo, Sarge, and Fillmore. And presumably, Ramon will be released as well because his actor has been confirmed to be in the movie. And Tex Dinoco may make an appearance in Cars 3, and it makes sense since some of the other Dinoco related characters are returning, and I'll talk about those in a couple minutes because they're in another article. And now, moving on to returning characters but with new elements. So, Brent Mustangburger, as you guys know, or maybe you guys don't know, but he was an announcer for Cars 2. He also appeared in Planes 1 and a little small appearance in Planes 2. So he will most likely be an announcer for the races in Cars 3 as well. Now, moving on to the most interesting thing from this article in my opinion. Chick Hicks with headset. Yes, Chick Hicks is returning. It's pretty much confirmed because he has a headset and he never had a headset in Cars 1. So, since he has a headset, he'll probably be a crew chief of some sort. And I originally thought that he'd be the crew chief of Jackson Storm, who is the main racing antagonist in the movie, but a couple things in another article make me think otherwise, and we'll get to them when we get to that article. So the next 4 cars on the list are variations of Lightning McQueen. We have an epilogue version, a shredded wrap version, a with wrap version, and a new race deco version. So my question is, what's a wrap? I honestly have no idea. Maybe it's some sort of add-on feature to a race car, but whatever it is, it gets damaged in the movie. And the last car on the list to conclude the first article is Todd the Pizza Planet truck news. So as you guys know, the Pizza Planet truck appears in every Pixar movie, so it's not really a surprise that he'll be in Cars 3, but in Cars 2 he appeared and didn't get released. So it looks like in Cars 3 he will appear, but he'll also be a little bit different, so that'll be interesting to see. So let's move on to Article 2. So this article basically just has a big long list of a bunch of names. I guess they might be singles or maybe they're just names. Not really sure yet. So let's just talk about the ones on the list. However, a lot of them are just meaningless names because we have absolutely no idea what that may entail. So first one is APB. No idea. Brick Yardley is most likely a racer and his sponsor will be released as well. And an example of a sponsor is Dinoco. He's the sponsor of the King. I'm not really sure if everyone knows that, so I wanted to point that out. Broadside, Sigler, and Krabby are most likely racers as well. Krabby is more than likely not the boat that appeared at the beginning of Cars 2 who took the missile to the oil rig. The one that appears in Cars 3 will most likely be a completely different character. Now we have 5 variations of Cruz Ramirez. A regular one, an epilogue one, a racer one, a Cruz Ramirez with mud, and a Cruz Ramirez with mud and trophies. So it'll be interesting to see how those play out. And if you guys don't know who Cruz Ramirez is, she is the car that helps and trains Lightning McQueen. Then we have Fishtail, who is probably a racer. He may not be though. And then we get into some more interesting names. Hank Weathers. Now if you guys don't already know, the King's real name is Strip Weathers. So is it possible that Hank is related to the King? Could Hank be his son or maybe another family member? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Then we have Hillbilly Fan. Now this character probably makes a semi-major appearance because if he didn't in the movie, then why would they be releasing him so soon? So he probably has some sort of interaction with the actual racers, but maybe I'm completely wrong. We don't really know at this point. Then we have Jackson Storm, obviously the main racing rival in the movie, and he'll be released with a crew chief. So Chick Hicks is not Jackson's chief because otherwise they would have said Chick Hicks and not just call it Jackson Storm crew chief. Now we have Jimbo and Junior Moon. I guess those are racers, but then again, like I've said before, they may not be. Another fan is Kid Fan. Probably similar situation with the Hillbilly Fan. We have another variation of Lightning McQueen. This one is with mud, and it's most likely different than the Muddy McQueen that was released in 2010. I'm guessing it's from a scene when McQueen and Cruz Ramirez are training, and they get muddy because Cruz Ramirez is also being released with mud. Now let's move on to Louise Barnstormer Nash. Maybe a racer. Again, not really sure. Then we move on to Natalie Certain. Now I know it says Nathalie Certain, but I'm pretty sure that's a typo. It's most likely Natalie. And we'll talk about her more in a second, but I'm guessing she's just a racer. Then we have 2 more racers that are to be determined. Old Timer with Dent. Not much to say about that one. Pace car is most likely the pace car for the races in Cars 3, and I doubt that it's Charlie Checker, who was the pace car for Cars 1. Pile Up, Pushover, and River Scott could be more racers, but I'm kind of thinking that they're actually different characters, but I have no idea at this point. Race reporter is obviously a reporter of some sort. Roscoe, the promoter, not much to say with him either, and he's most likely different from Roscoe, the helicopter that appeared in Planes. Smokey is related to Doc Hudson, and we'll talk about him a little bit more for the next article. Superfly, T-Bone, Taco, and Triple Dent. More racers? Maybe. We have no clue right now. I cannot wait for the trailer so we can kind of start piecing all of these characters together. Alright, let's move on to the third article. This one is pretty short as it only includes several 2-packs, but a week or so after TakeFiveADay posted the original 2-pack article, they made another one with updates, so I'll be showing that one instead. So let's start with Bobby Swift and Strip Weathers Jr. Obviously, both of them are new characters, and there's not really much to talk about with Bobby Swift, so let's move right on to Strip Weathers Jr. Now, he is most likely the king's son, so I wonder what their relation Hank Weathers has to Strip Weathers the king and then Strip Weathers Jr. because it's more probable that Strip Weathers Jr. is the king's son, so we really don't know who Hank Weathers is and how he fits into this whole family situation, so it'll be interesting to find out. Then we have Burnout and Pushover, possibly racers, but then again, we really don't know. So up next, we have Chick Hicks with headset and Natalie Certain. So it's pretty obvious now that Natalie will be the character that Chick Hicks is the crew chief for, and I think it'll be pretty cool to see Chick be the crew chief of a female character. It just doesn't seem like him from what we've seen in the first Cars movie. And now, moving on to Hit and Run. They might be racers, but TakeFiveADay thinks that they're demolition derby cars, which makes sense as well, and I'll explain more about this demolition derby later on in the video, but first, let's move on to the next 2-pack, Jackson Storm and Next Gen Racer. So obviously we have the main character of Jackson Storm and an unknown character, Next Gen Racer. Now if you guys don't already know, Gen is an abbreviation for generation, so that name infers that this car is extremely high tech, and that fits into the Cars 3 plot of Lightning McQueen kind of being old technology and he's being pushed out by all of the rookies with new technology. So that kind of feeds into that, but we don't really know anything else. Next, we have Jeff Gorvette and the King, which is my favorite 2-pack so far on this list because two awesome returning characters. I cannot wait to see how these two interact in the movie. And of course, this is confirmation that the King will be returning in Cars 3, which is pretty obvious based on the information we already saw. And that information basically being the fact that we're getting Strip Weathers Jr. and Hank Weathers as well. So I don't think that the King or Jeff Gorvette will be actually racing in the movie because obviously the King retired and Jeff probably did as well after the events of Cars 2. So it'll be interesting to see what their roles are in the movie. I originally thought that they might be announcers, but with Brent Mustangburger now confirmed to be in the movie, that is a little less likely. So like I said, it'll be cool to see what they actually do in the movie. So now let's move on to Lightning McQueen, Cars 3 look, and Sally. So this is a pretty basic 2-pack, not much to say. Looks like we'll have the Cars 3 designed in McQueen and just a typical Sally. Then we have another 2-pack with Lightning McQueen. This one has mud just like that single that we talked about earlier, and Luigi and Guido with rags. So what I take from looking at this is that Luigi and Guido will be assigned the task of cleaning off McQueen after he and Cruz Ramirez go on some sort of practice run and get a little muddy. And let's move on to Minnie and Van. I like this 2-pack because it kind of confirms that they will be back for Cars 3. That's great. They appeared in Cars 2 at the end, if you guys don't remember, so that's nice as well. And now we have Rusty and Dusty. This 2-pack brings up a little conversation because of the fact that Rusty's actor Tom Maglio Z died unfortunately a couple years ago, I believe. So that is now either one of two things. They gave Rusty a new actor, or they appear in a flashback. We really don't know at this point. I know I've said that a lot in this video, but that is the truth. We have all this information, but we don't have any pictures yet. However, we did get a picture of Cruz Ramirez, and I will show that at the end of the video, but that doesn't really help us with any of these names. So again, it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with Rusty and Dusty. Now, if you guys don't know, Fillmore's actor from Cars 1, George Carlin, died before they shot Cars 2. So they did end up recasting Fillmore as Lloyd Sher. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. But my point is, Disney Pixar has recast characters before after the original actor died. So that may be what they end up doing with Rusty Rust-eze. Now we have a bunch of characters with meaningless names at this point. Sterling and Cruz Ramirez. Sterling may be one of Cruz Ramirez's friends. We don't know. And same thing with Tailgate and Krabby and Whiplash and Jumbo. And to conclude this list, we have Young Smokey and Dirt Track Fabulous Hudson Hornet. These are probably from a flashback scene. And my question is Young Smokey different from the Smokey on the singles list? Because on the singles list, they just specify Smokey as Smokey, not Young or anything. And if that's the case, it kind of insinuates that Smokey is still alive in 2017, and maybe he's telling McQueen about his experience with Doc Hudson. Now on to Article 4. This article talks about a whole bunch of stuff. We have deluxes, haulers, and Radiator Springs Classic Deluxe. I know, sounds kind of strange, but I'll get to it. So, starting with the deluxe list, we have an RSM blimp. Pretty much expected that, and it's most likely different from Colin Colling, who was in the first Planes movie. And then we have two very intriguing names, Murphy and Frank Pinkerton. If you guys don't remember, those two SUVs participated in Sarge's boot camp at the end of Cars 1 during the end credits. The other two were TJ and Charlie Cargo, and they are not on the list. So I find it very interesting that Murphy and Frank Pinkerton are actually on the Cars 3 Deluxe list, because why would they bring back two completely unknown characters? Maybe they're just re-releases and won't actually appear in Cars 3, but I have absolutely no idea. Very interesting nonetheless. Then we have Mr. Drippy. Strange name, but sounds cool. Then we have Ambulance. As the name implies, it's an ambulance, maybe similar to Alfredo from Cars 2 or the Rescue Squad Mater ambulance. Then we have RV Motorhome. That would be an RV. Sweet. Up next is a fire truck. I assume it goes along with the ambulance. Maybe there's some sort of crash scene in Cars 3 and they need emergency vehicles. I guess that's possible. And then we have Dr. Damaged. Interesting. Reminds me of Dr. Feelbad the monster truck from Monster Truck Mater. Then we have Miss Fritter, a school bus. Don't know how that would come into the story, so it'll be interesting to see. And then a pretty interesting one, but we don't really know anything about it besides that it's an RV with crown and flags. Now you guys know that the crown accessory or souvenir is associated with the king, hence his name being the king, so it's likely that this RV is from Cars 1 and he's a King fan, or he's from Cars 3 and he's a fan of either Hank Weathers or Strip Weathers Jr., who is now deemed the king since the actual king, the original one, retired. That is just my speculation upon the matter, so I may be wrong. I could be wrong about everything I speculate about in this video, but hopefully I get at least a few things right. And now let's move on to Sputter Stop Cab. This is where it gets kinda weird. Why would they release a random semi-cab so early in the Cars 3 line? I doubt he'd have a big part in the movie, so maybe it goes more along with the Cars 1 line, similar to, being in the Piston Cup series for 2016 or 2015, but we really don't know at this point. Then we have Jock's Flacco cab. I assume that Jock's Flacco is a new racer, so I guess that's pretty cool. Sarge with Howitzer, that's also very, very cool. He was supposed to be released with the Howitzer a long time ago, but was canceled, so hopefully he actually gets released for Cars 3. Then we have Mack with a possible Cars 3 design. I doubt it'd be that different, but he probably has some different decals like he did when he changed from Cars 1 to Cars 2. Then we have Flatbed Truck, not much to say with that. And of course, red. We all knew we were going to get red, so that's not much of a surprise. And now let's move on to the hauler list. We do have a Wally hauler, so then it would make sense that the hauler line will be exclusive to Walmart because obviously the Wally hauler is a Walmart truck. Then we have Mack, pretty typical there. Bobby Swift hauler, obviously the hauler of that new racer. Same thing with Jock's Flacco and Strip Weathers Jr. Pretty cool that they're bringing back the haulers and a lot of them because it's so early in the Cars 3 line, and I'll address more about that and how I feel about all of these lines and whatnot later on in the video. But now let's move on to the Radiator Springs Classic Deluxe. Now I am pretty confused about this because there are Cars 3 characters in this line, which makes no sense because the Radiator Springs Classic Deluxe line is supposed to be only from Cars 1. So we'll see, maybe this is a mistake or whatnot, but let's now go through each of the ones on the list. We have a semi-release of Chet Boxcar, Ben Crankleshaft, Jerry Recycled Batteries, Paul Valdez, and Gil. Those will be great for new collectors because the haulers have become very, very rare. And now let's move on to Mater with Cone Teeth. This one is kind of strange because he's supposed to be released in an upcoming deluxe case for the 2016 line. So I just find it kind of strange that they're already planning on re-releasing him just several months after its initial release. So it'll be interesting to see how this list plays out because I feel like some of it is inaccurate, mainly due to the Cars 3 characters being on there, such as Hank Weathers Cab, Bobby Swift Cab, and Brick Yardley Cab. And to talk about them briefly, obviously they're the semi-cabs of some of the new racers. So that pretty much sums up all of the important articles. There are several other articles that talk about other lines like bumper bashers and stuff like that. Nothing that really reveals any plot besides Smokey having a service stop. And I have links to the other articles in the description below if you want to read them. And there is one more list I want to talk about, and that list is the blind bag list. Yes, Mattel will be releasing mystery bags for Disney cars. Now, all of the cars on this list are variations of Lightning McQueen, so I'm just going to read off what makes them different. Bling Bling, Cactus, Dinoco, Dirt Track, Finish Line, with Cone, Nature Drive, Smell Swell, Tongue, Transforming, Tumbleweed, and White Walls. Now, all of these are re-releases, and it's kind of interesting that they're re-releasing Smell Swell Lightning McQueen because he's a storyteller, so that would be the first ever storyteller exclusive car to be re-released. So pretty interesting. And then TakeFiveADay also states that there will be super chase vehicles like double Ransburg Cruz Ramirez and Lightning McQueen in these blind bags. Those sound awesome. They may be hard to find though, but usually blind bags have a code system to them that we can decipher. So hopefully that's the case with these Disney cars blind bags. So now that is all. Time to summarize. So first, we have a Jocks Flacco semi and hauler, but the actual racer isn't on any list. So that's kind of weird, and that's why I wanted to point it out. And there was a triple dent racer, which could be based on the gum brand shown in Inside Out, which was a Pixar movie that was released in 2015, I believe. And that's pretty cool there. And since we know that the King and Chick Hicks will be in the movie, maybe they'll have a race with McQueen just for old time's sake. Maybe Chick Hicks has become friendlier. We'll just have to wait and see. I think that would be really cool if they did a race like they did at the end of the first Cars movie. And now this is a lot of releases. This is a lot of lines, a lot of stuff. It seems like it's double the amount of cars from the debut of Cars 2. So in my opinion, some of this stuff may be canceled or drawn out until the end of 2017. I mean, come on guys. It is a lot of cars, a lot of different lines as well. And here we do have a die-cast picture of Cruz Ramirez in great quality. Thanks TakeFiveADay, and now this might be an epilogue version of her, which is why she looks kind of plain. No spoiler, only one decal, and you know, she just kind of looks like a regular yellow car, but I think she'll have more to her throughout the rest of the movie. And now here is a possible Cars 3 design of Lightning McQueen. It is not confirmed yet, but I do want to show it because it looks pretty cool, and I might make a video about this picture and Cruz's new picture as well. I want to maybe explain a little bit more about what I think about them. Just kind of explain the decals and whatnot, even though this Cars 3 Lightning McQueen does not look that much different from the previous versions of him. And lastly, to address my previous speculation video, which you can check out in the description below, I talk about the Cars 3 plot and what's going to happen in the movie, and I did do a little bit of speculating in that video as well. I said that I think Lizzie will die. I still think that Lizzie will die, and I know that sounds harsh, but it's just what I personally believe. However, I don't think that McQueen and Sally will break up anymore. You guys brought to my attention that this is a kids movie, so they probably won't focus too much around McQueen and Sally's relationship. So they might have a fight or something, but no, I don't think they'll break up anymore. So that is all. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. This is one of the main reasons I do speculation videos. I love reading your comments down below. You guys create so many good ideas. I love when you interact with each other because it's just so much fun talking about what you enjoy. So that is all. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.